starts at 6, does it? Or 6? We're in the shop in other criteria for the launch of the, what's he called? John Isaacs selected editions. Looks great. Looks very good. A lot of books. Love ring. Yeah, and this looks nice on this base here. So this is the Bildhauer Werkstatt, the studio space that I'm renting in Berlin. Basically, it's a huge 13,000 square meter old factory that's been converted for artists to work in. You can see it's a huge room, very noisy. People working very hard here. This is one of the edition pieces for other criteria. It's now bronze. It was plaster, and it's. I think I prefer it on the floor, actually, to be honest. So it's kind of fairly apparent, idea behind it is to build a branch that looks somehow that by its own accord, it's grown into this noose-like shape. It has this slightly antique-like quality. It doesn't seem to be necessarily a very contemporary object. Somehow it seems like something that could have come from another era. These are the tools that I'm using. For the noose, this was done with these dentist tools. Kind of scratch away, and then a wire brush. First of all, I got a piece of steel and bent it into this rough shape, and then coated it with plaster, and then modeling with these tools, and just scratching it away and shaping it. And all of this is modeled. So this area, I would have put a dollop of plaster, and then this shape is actually the way it's dolloped on, and then cutting into it with these tools to build up this sense of the structure of the wood and in where the bark's broken. It's just a matter of spending a lot of time scratching away at it, building it up. In a way, it's carved out of a piece of plaster. And then it's patinated with chemicals and heat. And there it is, bronze.
All of his works carry some idea of... They have an appearance that makes you feel like they've always been there. You feel you could unearth these things now or 1,000 years down the line and find that they can't be dated to our age, and they could have been made hundreds of years ago, and it's only now that we're finding them.
Now this thing is really like it's like a weapon, really. So this is the structure of the narwhal horn. The horn, the original horn, was imported from Alaska, and then, again, like with the noose, there was a mold that was made, and then this, again, was embedded into a grog plaster mixture, and then bronze was poured into it. It's very heavy, solid bronze. Here there was some texture that was missing, but with a machine, with a kind of wire brush-like thing, you can add this texture, which is a bit like the tip on a horn, just so that it's not totally smooth. And then when the bronze was finished, it was given to a workshop, and they would have immersed it into a solution of silver and passed electricity through it, so the current then builds up the layer of silver. Very, very thin. This is now got this slightly blue-black, and this is a chemical. It's called, I don't know the name for it in English, it's called Schwefelleber in German, and it stinks like rotten eggs. You paint it on, and instantly it makes the silver go this kind of black, brown, like an old coin or an old fork. Again, like something that's not from today, but at the same time, it's a heavy lump of bronze. It's an awkward object. It's not quite certain what to do with it. Stand it up, lie it down. Maybe it's good for rolling bread. Just occurred to me now when we're talking about it. I always had this feeling like it's when you look at it this way, it's like this, but when you look at it this way, it's like time. I quite like this detail, is that where it's cut, I polished it up so it's like a mirror, like a compact. I mean, it's about the same size like a makeup mirror or something. This is like today, and then this is last year, and goes right back. You know, so it could be some chronological sense of time. But I know, I mean, it just looks like a straight object, but somehow a mirror, is this the only point where you can actually see yourself in it? You can't do it here. You can't exist in this point in it. The title for the skull piece, you said you would always be there. The skull is somehow this icon through time of death. So then to make an image of a skull and then give it a title like that, it seems totally unfair, you know, almost brutal. But also in another way, in a kind of more romantic way, then it seems also perfectly okay, because, you know, death is part of life, and you can promise literally to be there, but you can't necessarily keep that promise. But you could also be there by not being there. I made a skull in clay, then cast it into plaster, and then with this wire brush, working up and down, and it builds up this kind of stone-like structure on it. You said you would always be there. It's also, for me, this sense of an expanded time. It's like when you deal with other people or other ideas, you deal with their evolution, with where they are in this point in time, and they will change. You know, sometimes they change so much that there's no chance of you sharing the same bed any longer. You know, I mean, not just physically, but literally.
Every single artwork he does is very different to the one that he did before, and that's what makes it really exciting and very surprising every time.
He's rendered a skull and a unicorn's horn and a love ring, and this very intense academic, well-thought book around these ideas of really our relationship with the world.
The hope with this book is that there's this kind of overall encyclopedic kind of view, and it's encompassing all kinds of different things. It's not about me. A lot of the pieces in the book, and the text as well, they're kind of excerpts from something. But when you put them together in this way, rather than building up into one kind of unified grand theory, they start to actually sort of twist and turn and digest each other. And it's not necessarily an essay on termite communication or Freud or whatever, but somehow putting it all together is, for me, like the beautiful idea and the impossible idea. I have this desire to bring a lot of different things into the way that I work. I mean, I have my favorites, you know, like this sort of physical aspects of the body, of flesh and shit. With shit, it's beyond, you know, race and sex and religion. It's just something that is part of humanity. So I kind of enjoyed the sense of this perfect thing erupting out of this shit. It could be an eyeball, it could be a kind of pregnancy or a planet or something mysterious. Anyway, I'm happy with this area here. See, it's got this kind of yellow and red, and it's beginning to feel a bit syrupy. I think I like to think of it as a kind of collaborative effort. When you got to go, you got to go. As an artist, you just have this wonderful privilege, which is to try and put in the world the things that you feel are there, but they're not actually physically manifest. You know? So there it is now. You know, this piece is there, and it wasn't there, but now it's there, and now it has some kind of life. It's going to be in the launch tomorrow in London, and maybe another version in France, and off it goes. Well, it's nice to be here. It's nice to see, you know, friends and people that I know here in London that I don't get to see living in Berlin. And there's a lot of good response, especially to the love rings, also the book. It's nice. It's a nice thing that people have made the effort to come.